The planet of Iridian was a place few dared to explore. Its endless deserts stretched like golden oceans under a pale sun. Sandstorms rose suddenly, and the air shimmered with heat. Most of the galaxy avoided it, calling it barren and lifeless. But Mara, a human explorer, saw a world full of mystery. She had heard stories from old records about an ancient civilization that once lived here. They were known as the Kings of Gold, rulers whose treasures were said to be beyond imagination. Mara adjusted her goggles as she looked at the horizon. Small shapes emerged from the shifting sand, the ruins of a city swallowed by time. Towers had collapsed, walls were buried, and statues lay broken and faded. Yet, there was a strange beauty in the ruins. Every stone seemed to whisper secrets of the past. Mara felt excitement run through her veins. She had spent years searching for this place, and now she was finally here. Her team walked beside her. Rena, an engineer with quick hands and a sharp mind, carried equipment to scan the area. Taro, the medic, moved cautiously, always watching for danger. Together, they had traveled across 3 star systems to reach Iridian. Mara knew it would not be easy. The desert hid dangers that were not always visible. But she also knew humans had a skill that others lacked. They could think, adapt, and imagine solutions where others only saw obstacles. As they approached the ruins, Mara noticed something unusual. A strange device partially buried in the sand caught her attention. It looked like a small, metal cube covered in patterns that glowed faintly. She knelt and brushed the sand away. The cube hummed softly, as if it had been waiting for someone to find it. Mara's heart raced. This could be more than a simple artifact. It might be a key to the treasure of the ancient kings. Rena came closer. She examined the cube with her scanner. Mara, this isn't like anything I've seen before. The technology is advanced, but it's ancient at the same time. It's almost alive, she said. Mara nodded. The records mentioned devices like this. They were said to store knowledge, maps, and secrets. If we can unlock it, we may find the location of the treasure itself. Taro shook his head slightly. We should be careful. There could be traps or protective systems. The Kings of Gold were not known for leaving their treasures unguarded. Mara smiled. That's why we are humans. We can think when others panic. We can solve what others cannot. The team began to carefully examine the cube. Mara's fingers traced the patterns. Then, slowly, the cube began to open, unfolding like a flower of metal and light. A holographic map appeared above it, glowing in the dusty air. The map showed the ruins of Iridian in detail, highlighting secret tunnels, hidden gates, and symbols that marked important locations. The team gasped. Even the most experienced explorers had never seen such clarity in an ancient map. Mara's mind raced with possibilities. This is it. This is the path to the treasure, she whispered. Suddenly, shadows moved at the edge of the desert. Mara froze. Through the heat haze, she saw figures watching them. They were not human. Their forms were strange, almost reptilian, with glowing eyes and long limbs. They moved carefully, avoiding the sand, as if they had studied the desert for centuries. Mara understood immediately. They were alien archaeologists. They had been observing the ruins, waiting for someone to approach. And now, humans had found what they had not. Mara felt a thrill and a chill at the same time. Humans had always been underestimated in the galaxy. Other species thought humans were fragile, emotional, and unprepared for serious challenges. Yet here she was, holding a device that no alien had managed to unlock. The aliens would not attack immediately. They would wait and observe. Humans could think, adapt, and surprise. Mara knew that would give them an advantage. We need to move, Mara said calmly. The map will show us the way, but we must be careful. The treasure is not unprotected. The team set off, following the holographic path. The desert seemed endless, and the sun burned down on them, but humans had stamina and determination. Mara led the way, using the map to guide them to a partially hidden cave. The entrance was almost invisible, covered by centuries of sand. She paused and looked back. The alien watchers had not moved. Their glowing eyes followed every step. Inside the cave, the air was cooler, and the walls were etched with ancient symbols. Mara ran her fingers over the carvings. "These symbols, they tell stories," she said. "The kings of gold were wise rulers. They valued knowledge as much as wealth. The treasure we seek is not just gold. It may include their wisdom, inventions, and secrets of their civilization." Rena examined the walls. "It is incredible. The designs are complex, but there is logic to them. The ancient kings wanted humans to be clever enough to understand it." Taro checked the equipment. "So far, no traps. But that does not mean there aren't any. Stay alert." Hours passed as the team navigated the cave. The holographic map guided them through twisting tunnels and chambers filled with dust and broken relics. Humans used their creativity to overcome obstacles. They moved rocks, solved pattern puzzles on walls, and avoided pitfalls that would have stopped any other species. At the deepest part of the cave, Mara found a large stone door. It was engraved with symbols she recognized from the device. "This must be it," she whispered. "The entrance to the treasure chamber. The kings of gold wanted only those clever enough to solve the path to reach it." The team prepared for what lay ahead. Outside, the alien watchers moved closer, curious and cautious. They had underestimated humans, and that would soon become their mistake. Mara touched the stone door. It vibrated and slowly began to open, revealing darkness inside. A feeling of awe and excitement filled the air. The humans had discovered something no one else had. The journey was just beginning, and the treasure of the ancient kings awaited them. Mara smiled. Humans could adapt, create, and endure. This was their greatest strength. The cave swallowed them, and the adventure began. The cave swallowed the humans, but the darkness did not frighten them. Mara held the holographic device close, its faint glow lighting the passage ahead. The walls were narrow in some places and wide in others, etched with symbols that told stories of the kings of gold. Every symbol seemed to move slightly in the flickering light, as if the stone itself remembered the ancient rulers. Rena carefully scanned the walls with her equipment. "The symbols match the map," she said. "It looks like these carvings are more than decoration. They guide us, showing where it is safe to step and where danger may lie." Mara nodded. "The kings wanted only the clever to reach their treasure. The path will test us. We must think, not just move forward." Taro, always cautious, touched the walls gently. "Be ready. There could be traps we cannot see. Humans are clever, but mistakes here could be deadly." The passage led them into a wide chamber. Broken pillars lay scattered across the floor, their tops shattered. At the center, a stone pedestal held another small device, similar to the one they had found outside. Mara stepped forward. The pedestal hummed as she approached. She touched it, and a holographic map expanded from it, showing tunnels that led further underground. The map glowed with symbols that seemed to move in sequence, guiding the humans toward their goal. Rena studied the map carefully. "This path is complex. There are multiple tunnels, some dead ends, some traps. But it also shows shortcuts. If we follow it carefully, we can reach the treasure faster than anyone else." Mara smiled. "That is the advantage of humans. We can plan, adapt, and solve problems. Others may have stronger weapons, but we have imagination and courage." They moved through the tunnels, the map floating above them. The corridors twisted and turned, some so narrow that only one person could pass at a time. The air was thick, dusty, and dry. Their footsteps echoed in the silence, mixing with the soft hum of the devices. Suddenly, a section of the floor shifted. A trap was hidden beneath thin stone. Mara noticed the faint outline just in time. She grabbed Rina and Taro, pulling them back. The stone snapped downward, revealing a pit beneath. "Careful observation saved us," Mara said. "We must rely on both our eyes and our minds." The kings of gold did not leave their treasure unprotected. Rina nodded. "The map shows another route. It looks more difficult, but safer. Let's follow it." The new path led them through a narrow passage filled with ancient machinery. Levers, gears, and strange devices covered the walls. Many were broken, but some still moved when touched. Mara studied them carefully. "These are old machines. They must have been used to guard the treasure. We can activate them to help us or avoid them if we are careful." The team worked together. Rina used her engineering skills to fix parts of the machinery. Taro watched for danger, ready to react if anything went wrong. Mara guided them, reading the patterns in the machines. Humans worked with intuition and creativity, finding solutions where others might fail. Hours passed, and they finally reached a large chamber. The ceiling was high, and the walls were covered in gold-colored carvings. At the center, a massive door blocked further progress. Symbols of the ancient kings were etched into the stone, glowing faintly. Mara studied the symbols. "This is the final gate before the treasure. The map shows a puzzle we must solve. The kings wanted only those clever and patient enough to unlock it." Rina examined the carvings. "It looks like a combination of shapes and symbols. If we follow the sequence from the map, we might be able to open it." Taro added, "Be careful. If we make a mistake, the door could trigger a trap." The kings were clever in protecting their treasure. Mara placed her hand on the door, following the sequence from the map. She moved shapes and symbols, each fitting perfectly into place. The door hummed, then slowly began to open. Light spilled into the chamber, revealing the path beyond. Outside, the desert shimmered under the pale sun. The alien watchers had not left. They were moving closer, silent and careful. Mara realized that other species had seen the devices glow from afar. The treasure was no longer a secret. Humans had discovered something no one else could unlock, and now others were interested. "We are not alone," Mara said. "The aliens are watching. They will try to reach the treasure, but humans can adapt. We can think faster and act smarter. That is our strength." The team moved through the chamber. The air was cool, but filled with anticipation. Every step brought them closer to the treasure, but also closer to danger. The map guided them through more tunnels, each one filled with challenges. Some passages were blocked by massive stones, others by intricate puzzles carved into the walls. Mara led her team with careful precision. Humans had patience, creativity, and courage. When a puzzle required connecting symbols in a pattern, she found the answer by observing the surroundings. When a heavy stone blocked the path, Rina built a lever system to move it safely. Taro ensured they stayed healthy and alert. Each member played an important role, and together they overcame obstacles that no other species could. As they reached the edge of the tunnels, the path opened into a large cavern. Stalactites hung from the ceiling, glittering like diamonds in the device's glow. In the center, a platform rose above a shallow pool of water. Strange machines were scattered around, still moving slowly, responding to their presence. Mara stepped forward. "The treasure is close," she said. "But this final section will test us." The kings of gold left challenges that required both strength and cleverness. Rina and Taro nodded. They understood the importance of teamwork and human creativity. They moved carefully, studying the machines, reading the patterns, and predicting possible traps. The aliens outside might have technology and weapons, but they did not have the patience, intuition, or courage that humans had. Mara took a deep breath. The adventure was only beginning. The map had brought them this far, but now their minds and courage would be tested more than ever. Humans had discovered a path that no other species could solve. Their journey to the treasure of the ancient kings had begun, and it would prove that humans were truly special. The holographic map pulsed softly in Mara's hand, guiding them forward. Every shadow, every symbol, every machine was a test. And humans were ready. The cavern stretched before the humans, wide and shadowed, with walls glittering faintly in the light of the holographic device. Stalactites hung like frozen daggers, and the shallow pool of water reflected the ceiling in rippling patterns. At the center of the chamber, a large stone arch marked the entrance to another corridor. Strange symbols covered the arch, glowing softly. Mara stepped closer and traced the carvings with her hand. "These symbols are a warning and a guide," she said. "The kings of gold did not leave their treasure unprotected. Beyond this arch is our first trial." Rena adjusted her scanner and studied the floor. "There are hidden pressure plates. If we step the wrong way, the floor may open or trigger traps. But the map shows safe paths." Taro sighed. "Humans have patience and quick thinking. That will be our advantage. Other species would rush and fail." Mara nodded. "We will move carefully. Observe everything and think before acting." They entered the corridor slowly. The floor was a mosaic of intricate shapes, some flat, some slightly raised. Each step required careful attention. Mara led the way, following the holographic map. When she stepped on a slightly raised tile, a faint click echoed through the chamber. Rena held her breath, scanning for danger. Nothing happened. Mara smiled. The ancient kings had made traps that relied on observation, not brute force. "Notice the sequence," Mara said. "The tiles are arranged to test attention. Step carefully, and we will pass." The humans continued, moving with precision. Halfway through the corridor, they faced a gap in the floor. A shallow pool of water lay below, reflecting the glowing symbols on the walls. The gap was too wide to jump. Mara examined the surrounding stones. She noticed a pattern in the carvings that suggested a solution. "Rena, we can use the stones on the sides to create a bridge," Mara said. "The map shows it, but we must place them in the correct sequence." Rena nodded and began lifting the stones. They were heavy, but humans had strength and teamwork. Taro helped by holding the stones steady while Mara guided their placement. The stones fit perfectly, forming a safe path across the gap. The ancient kings had designed challenges that required both thinking and cooperation. "Good work," Mara said. "We are proving that humans can solve problems where others fail." As they moved forward, the corridor narrowed. Mechanisms on the walls began to activate. Spinning blades emerged slowly, stopping just short of their path. Mara paused and observed the timing. "We need to move carefully. Watch the rhythm and step between the blades. One mistake could hurt us, but if we stay focused, we can pass safely." Rena and Taro followed her lead, stepping in perfect timing. The spinning blades passed just inches above their heads. Humans' patience and observation allowed them to move faster and safer than any species that relied only on speed or strength. Beyond the blades, the corridor opened into a wide chamber. A low ceiling and stone pillars filled the space. In the center, a massive puzzle awaited. A wall of interlocking shapes rose several feet high. Symbols glowed on the stones, forming a pattern that seemed to shift when touched. "This is the first true test," Mara said. "The kings of gold wanted only those who could understand patterns and solve problems to reach the treasure." Rena studied the puzzle. "It looks impossible. The shapes move and change when touched. But the map shows hints. We just need to observe carefully." Mara and Rena began experimenting with the puzzle. Each piece moved differently, some sliding, some rotating, some disappearing when pressed in the wrong order. Taro watched for traps, holding a torch to light the chamber. Hours passed as they worked, testing and observing. Humans' curiosity and patience allowed them to see the logic in the chaos. Finally, Mara noticed a small pattern in the corner of the wall. The glowing symbols formed a sequence that matched the map. She directed Rina to press the pieces in that order. Slowly, the massive wall shifted and opened, revealing a narrow tunnel beyond. "We did it," Mara said with a smile. "Humans can solve what others cannot." The Kings of Gold designed challenges that required thought, patience, and teamwork. "We have all three." Taro exhaled. "This is why humans survive. We use our minds as well as our strength. Others may have technology, but we have creativity." The tunnel led them downward, deeper into the complex. Water dripped from the ceiling, forming small pools on the floor. Strange glowing plants grew in the shadows, their light faint but enough to guide their steps. The air felt cooler and heavier, filled with the smell of ancient stone and mineral water. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the tunnel. Mara froze. "Someone is following us," she whispered. The alien watchers had entered the cave. They moved silently, their glowing eyes scanning for the humans. Mara smiled slightly. Humans had reached this far not because of weapons or speed, but because of their intelligence. The aliens had technology, but they lacked patience and creativity. "We need to move quickly but carefully," Mara said. "The map will guide us, but we cannot let them catch up." The team advanced, using clever paths and hidden passages. They crossed small chasms with stone bridges, avoided pits disguised as floor tiles, and solved minor puzzles along the way. Every challenge reminded them that humans could adapt, plan, and think in ways others could not. At last, they reached a chamber filled with light. It was not sunlight, but a strange glow coming from crystals embedded in the walls. In the center, a massive stone door blocked the next section of the complex. Symbols glowed faintly, forming a pattern that seemed to shift when observed. "This is the final test of this trial," Mara said. The Kings of Gold wanted humans to prove their intelligence and patience. Only then would the treasure be within reach. Rina studied the door. "We need to match the symbols with the map. It will not be easy. The wrong combination may trigger a trap." Mara traced the symbols with her fingers, observing the subtle differences in shapes and glow. Slowly, she began to press the correct sequence. The door hummed, and the symbols glowed brighter. Step by step, they completed the pattern. With a deep rumble, the stone door began to open. Light spilled into the chamber, revealing a passage beyond. The humans had passed the first trial. They had used intelligence, patience, and teamwork to overcome challenges designed to stop them. The aliens outside had watched in silence, clearly impressed but unable to intervene without risking danger. Mara looked at her team. "This is only the beginning. The Kings of Gold designed tests that required creativity and courage. We have proven ourselves, but greater challenges lie ahead." Rina smiled. "Humans can think where others fail. That is why we are here. That is why we will succeed." Taro nodded. "And we will continue. No matter what comes, humans have the strength and intelligence to overcome it." The humans stepped forward into the next passage, ready for whatever awaited them. Their journey was far from over, but one thing was certain: the first trial had proven that humans could solve problems and survive where others would fail. The treasure of the ancient kings awaited, and humans were prepared to claim it. The humans stepped into the next passage, and the air grew cooler and heavier. The walls were carved with glowing runes, pulsing faintly as if responding to their presence. Mara held the holographic map high, its light reflecting off the damp stone. The path ahead twisted and descended deeper into the heart of the ancient complex. "This is different from before," Rina said. "The challenges ahead will be more than just puzzles. The traps may be more dangerous, and we are not alone." Taro scanned the passage carefully. The aliens are close. I can sense their presence, but they do not know the path. Our advantage is that humans can think and adapt. That will be enough to stay ahead. Mara nodded. Stay alert. We move carefully, but we cannot stop. Hesitation will allow them to catch up. We use our intelligence, patience, and teamwork. The passage opened into a vast chamber. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like frozen spears, and water pooled in uneven shapes across the floor. At the center, an enormous stone door blocked the way forward. Symbols carved into the stone glowed faintly, forming shifting patterns. The map showed that this door was not just a barrier but a test. This is the second trial, Mara said. We must prove our cleverness again. But I sense something else, shadows moving outside the chamber. Rina adjusted her scanner. The aliens are watching. They are waiting for us to make a mistake. But we are ready. Humans have patience, and we observe more carefully than any predator. Taro frowned. They may try to trick us. We must stay focused and follow the map. The kings of gold created the challenges for those who think, not for those who rush. Mara studied the door. The symbols moved in complex sequences, like a living puzzle. She realized that the solution required both observation and reasoning. Watch closely, she said. The symbols repeat in patterns. If we understand the rhythm, we can unlock the door. Rina and Taro followed her instructions. They observed the patterns and noted small changes in the glow. Mara guided them in pressing the symbols in the correct order. Slowly, step by step, the door began to shift. The ancient mechanisms inside responded to human thought, recognizing intelligence and patience. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed through the chamber. Mara froze. The aliens are approaching. We must finish quickly. Rina moved with precision, pressing the last symbols. The door trembled and then slowly opened. Beyond lay a narrow corridor, twisting downward into darkness. The map indicated that this path led closer to the treasure, but it also warned of traps designed to test courage and creativity. The humans moved carefully, their eyes scanning every shadow. Water dripped from the ceiling, and the air smelled of stone and minerals. Strange plants glowed faintly, providing a soft light. The aliens followed silently, their movements cautious. As they advanced, the corridor split into two paths. One path was wide and stable but long. The other was narrow, uneven, and dangerous, but the map showed it as a shortcut. Mara studied the options. The kings of gold wanted humans to make choices. Intelligence is not just solving puzzles, it is choosing wisely. Rina nodded. We take the narrow path. It will be more difficult, but it is faster. If we move carefully, we can stay ahead of the aliens. Taro agreed. Humans are clever and patient. The path may be dangerous, but we can navigate it. Others would fail here. The narrow path was treacherous. Sharp stones jutted from the walls, and the floor was slick with moisture. At one point, a section of the tunnel collapsed under weight. Mara carefully tested each step, and Rina helped clear debris. Taro guided them through the safest route. The humans' teamwork and patience allowed them to move where others would have been trapped or turned back. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From above, rocks fell toward the humans. Mara pushed Rina and Taro to safety. Observe and react quickly. The kings of gold tested not only intelligence but also courage and agility. The humans pressed on. At last, the path opened into another chamber, smaller but filled with ancient devices and glowing symbols. At the center, a shallow pit contained a pool of shimmering liquid. The map indicated that they had to cross it, but the liquid was dangerous if touched. This is another test, Mara said. The kings created challenges that require observation and careful action. We must use our minds and hands, not just our strength. Rina scanned the pool. The stones around it form a path. But they move when stepped on. Timing will be important. Mara observed the pattern. She directed Taro and Rina, stepping carefully from stone to stone. The movement of the stones required patience, balance, and attention. One wrong step could plunge them into the dangerous liquid. Step by step, they crossed safely. Humans' combination of thought, courage, and careful movement allowed them to succeed. The aliens followed behind, but their larger bodies made it harder to navigate the stones without danger. Once across, they found another puzzle carved into the wall. A series of symbols glowed, forming shapes that shifted and changed when touched. The map suggested a sequence, but Mara knew they had to think creatively. "Observe the symbols," Mara said. "The map shows the sequence, but there are patterns hidden in the glow. Humans can find them by noticing small differences others would ignore." Rina pressed the first symbols in the correct order, then paused. "There is a hidden rhythm," she said. "The symbols glow faster or slower depending on the next correct choice. Watch closely." Mara and Taro observed and guided her. Slowly, carefully, they completed the puzzle. The wall trembled, then shifted aside, revealing another corridor. Beyond it, the faint glow of the treasure's chamber could be seen. The aliens were still behind, but humans had proven their advantage. They moved faster, more carefully, and more intelligently. Their patience and creativity allowed them to overcome challenges that others could not. Mara looked at her team. "We are close. The treasure is ahead, but the trials are not over. The Kings of Gold created tests that require intelligence, courage, and cooperation. We have all three." Rina smiled. "Humans can think in ways others cannot. That is why we are here. That is why we will succeed." Taro nodded. "And we will continue. No matter what comes, humans have the skill to adapt and overcome." The humans moved forward, shadows stretching behind them. The treasure awaited, hidden by the clever designs of the ancient kings. The aliens followed, but humans had proven that their greatest strength was not technology or speed, but the ability to think, plan, and act as one. Every step forward was a step closer to the lost gold of the ancient kings, and humans were ready to face whatever trials remained in the depths of the ancient complex. The passage ended in a wide chamber, unlike anything the humans had seen before. The walls glowed with golden light, reflecting off crystal formations embedded in the stone. The air felt alive, humming with energy as if the chamber itself was aware of their presence. At the center, three massive doors blocked the path forward. Each door had a different symbol: a sun, a star, and a mountain. Mara stepped forward, studying the symbols. The Kings of Gold wanted only those who could think, observe, and choose wisely to reach their treasure. Each door is a puzzle. Only one leads to the treasure, the others may trigger traps or dead ends. Rina examined the doors with her scanner. There are mechanisms inside each one. Pressure sensors and hidden carvings suggest that one door will open safely if we solve its puzzle. The others may collapse or lock us in. Taro crossed his arms. This is where human intelligence shines. Others might rush or guess. We study, observe, and plan. That is why we survive where others fail. Mara nodded. We cannot rush. Observe patterns, think carefully, and act as a team. We will find the correct path. They started with the sun door. Symbols on the surface shifted when touched, forming new patterns each time. Mara realized that the symbols responded to logic. Each had to be pressed in a specific sequence based on the numbers hidden in the carvings. She directed Rina and Taro, explaining her reasoning step by step. After several careful attempts, the sun door did not open. Instead, a low rumble warned them that a trap had activated. Mara quickly noticed small stone spikes sliding into the floor. "Step back carefully," she instructed. They moved back safely, avoiding the spikes. The kings wanted to test patience and observation, Mara said. Others would panic, but humans learn from mistakes and keep trying. Next, they turned to the star door. This door had a different challenge. Small crystals embedded in the surface glowed in changing colors. The sequence of colors had to be repeated exactly to unlock the mechanism. Rena studied the patterns carefully. The colors are not random. There is a hidden sequence. Watch the glow and press them in order. Together, they followed the pattern. Blue, yellow, red, green, and back to blue. Step by step, they pressed the crystals. Slowly, the door began to hum, but then the colors shifted again. Mara paused. The sequence repeats with a small twist. The kings of gold wanted observation, memory, and creativity. We must notice the hidden differences. After several more attempts, they understood the twist. The final crystal sequence activated a mechanism, and the door opened slowly. Behind it, a narrow corridor descended into darkness. "This is it," Mara said. "We are close to the treasure, but there may still be challenges ahead. Stay alert and move carefully." The corridor was steep and uneven. Water ran in small streams along the floor. Strange carvings on the walls depicted humans interacting with golden figures, as if the kings themselves recognized the strength of humans. Mara smiled. The kings knew humans were clever. That is why they left these challenges. We are proving ourselves worthy. Suddenly, the ground shook. Rocks tumbled from the ceiling, and the narrow corridor became dangerous. Mara guided Rena and Taro carefully, using teamwork to avoid falling debris. Humans' patience and awareness allowed them to advance safely. At the end of the corridor, they entered another chamber, larger and brighter than any before. Golden light reflected from walls and ceilings covered in ancient carvings. At the center, a puzzle pedestal awaited. A series of rotating rings, each carved with symbols, floated above a golden base. The map indicated that this puzzle controlled the final door to the treasure chamber. Rena examined the rings. Each ring rotates independently. The symbols must align perfectly to unlock the door. One wrong move could lock it permanently. Mara studied the rings. The kings of gold designed challenges for humans' minds, not for strength. Observe the symbols, recognize the pattern, and solve the puzzle with patience and intelligence. They worked together. Rena rotated the top ring while Taro adjusted the middle one. Mara analyzed the shifting symbols, guiding them to align correctly. The rings moved slowly, responding to their logic and attention to detail. Time passed, but humans did not rush. They watched, calculated, and acted with care. Finally, the last ring clicked into place. A golden light filled the chamber, and the massive door to the treasure began to open. The air vibrated with energy, and the humans felt a sense of awe. The lost gold of the ancient kings lay beyond, waiting for those worthy enough to claim it. Just as they prepared to step forward, a faint sound echoed behind them. Mara froze. The aliens are here. They have followed us this far. But we are ready. The aliens entered the chamber cautiously. Their eyes glowed with curiosity, but they did not attack. They seemed aware that the humans had proven themselves through intelligence, patience, and teamwork. Taro stepped forward, hands raised in a gesture of caution. Mara addressed them. The treasure of the kings of gold is not for those who rush or rely only on strength. Humans have proven their worth through thought, observation, and cooperation. You may observe, but this path is ours to complete. The aliens paused, then slowly retreated. They seemed to respect the humans' intelligence and determination. Humans had reached the treasure because they had qualities that no other species could match. Mara turned to her team. We did it. Humans have proven that patience, intelligence, and teamwork can overcome any challenge. This is why we survive where others fail. Rena smiled. The kings of gold left their treasure for those who could think, observe, and act wisely. Humans are capable of greatness when we use our minds and hearts together. Taro nodded. We will continue to face challenges, but today we have shown that humans have the greatest strength, the ability to think, learn, and cooperate. They stepped forward toward the treasure, golden light reflecting in their eyes. The chamber was filled with wonders beyond imagination, golden artifacts, ancient coins, and devices of incredible craftsmanship. The lost gold of the ancient kings had been found, not through brute force or luck, but through human ingenuity and courage. Mara looked at her team with pride. This is only the beginning. We have proven ourselves, but the world of the kings of gold is vast. There may be more treasures, more trials, and more knowledge waiting for those who are patient and wise. Rina and Taro nodded in agreement. Humans had succeeded where others could not. Their journey was far from over, but they had proven that intelligence, courage, and teamwork could overcome even the greatest challenges. The lost gold of the ancient kings shone before them, and humans had claimed it through their greatest strength, the mind. The humans stepped into the treasure chamber, and golden light reflected off every surface. Ancient coins, artifacts, and strange devices filled the room. The walls were carved with stories of the kings of gold and their wisdom. Mara's eyes widened in awe. This is incredible, she whispered. The kings of gold left not only wealth but knowledge. Every artifact tells a story, every device a lesson. Rina moved carefully, scanning the chamber. The map shows that the treasure is here, but there may still be trials. The kings of gold protected their wealth with more than puzzles. Look for hidden dangers. Taro nodded. Humans have reached this far because we think, observe, and act carefully. The challenge may not be over yet. We must stay alert. As they approached the central pile of gold, a low hum filled the room. The artifacts vibrated faintly, and golden light began to swirl above the treasure. Shadows moved on the walls, and strange mechanical figures emerged. Guardians of the treasure, ancient constructs left by the kings of gold, had awakened. Mara raised her hand. Stay calm. Observe their patterns. Humans can succeed through intelligence, not force. The guardians moved in synchronized patterns, blocking direct paths to the treasure. Their movements were precise, almost as if they were testing the humans' observation and patience. One misstep could trigger a trap, but Mara noticed small gaps in their motion. Rina pointed to the gaps. We can move between their paths if we time it carefully. The kings designed these guardians to test not strength but attention and strategy. Taro nodded. Then we proceed with patience and calculation. We have faced challenges before. These are just another form of trial. The humans began to move. They observed the guardians, noting each pause and shift. Step by step, they advanced, carefully timing their movements. Every human was focused and coordinated. The guardians blocked, shifted, and tested them, but humans adapted. Their intelligence allowed them to predict movements and act together. Suddenly, one guardian moved differently. A mechanical arm swung toward Rina. She jumped back just in time. Mara and Taro immediately adjusted their movements. We cannot panic, Mara said. Humans think and act together. We adapt. They continued, moving faster and more carefully with each step. The guardians seemed to recognize the humans' patience and cleverness. Their attacks became less aggressive, as if they respected the ability to observe, learn, and act with intelligence. At last, they reached the central pile of treasure. Gold coins shimmered, and strange devices emitted soft light. But a final puzzle remained. A pedestal with a glowing crystal required a correct combination to access the treasure fully. The crystal hovered above 3 levers, each inscribed with symbols. This is the last test, Mara said. The kings of gold always rewarded intelligence and cooperation. Observe the symbols, and think before acting. Rina studied the levers. The sequence is hidden in the carvings on the walls. The symbols form a pattern if we notice the differences in size and shape. Taro examined the pedestal. We cannot guess. One wrong move might lock the treasure forever. Humans succeed by thinking, not rushing. They work together. Mara directed the order, Rina pulled the correct levers, and Taro ensured balance in timing. The crystal glowed brighter with each correct movement. Step by step, they solved the final puzzle. A soft hum grew into a harmonic resonance, and the treasure began to shine with radiant golden light. The guardians slowly stepped back, their movements ceasing. The humans had proven their worth. They had not relied on force or luck, but on intelligence, patience, and teamwork. Mara stepped forward. The kings of gold rewarded those who think, observe, and act together. We have proven that humans possess the greatest strength, the ability to learn, adapt, and overcome challenges. Rina and Taro joined her. Together, they examined the treasure. Some artifacts contained knowledge, maps of ancient worlds, devices for communication, and tools for learning and discovery. Other treasures were golden, but each had been carefully preserved to teach lessons in patience, strategy, and intelligence. Taro smiled. We have not only found gold, but wisdom. The kings of gold designed their treasure to reward those who use their minds and hearts. That is why humans succeeded where others failed. Mara nodded. The treasure is not just wealth. It is proof that humans can think beyond instinct, beyond force. We plan, observe, and act as one. That is our strength. As they explored, the chamber seemed to respond to their curiosity. Devices activated when they approached, revealing messages from the kings of gold. Stories of their civilizations, their triumphs, and their respect for intelligence were displayed in glowing text and holographic images. Humans read and learned, amazed at the depth of wisdom contained in the chamber. The guardians remained still, watching, as if acknowledging the humans' accomplishments. Their silent presence was not a threat but a recognition. Humans had proven their ability to succeed where others could not, and that recognition from the ancient protectors was a reward itself. Rina turned to Mara. We have learned much more than we expected. The treasure is more than gold. It is knowledge, strategy, and understanding. Humans are capable of greatness when we think and work together. Mara smiled. This is only the beginning. The kings of gold left wisdom for those who could reach it. We have claimed it today, but there may be more challenges, more treasures, and more knowledge waiting for the future. Taro looked around the chamber. And humans will continue to rise. No challenge is too great when we combine intelligence, patience, and courage. We adapt, we learn, and we overcome. That is why we succeed. The humans carefully gathered what they could carry, leaving the rest for future explorers who would prove their worth. They had faced the guardians, solved the final puzzles, and claimed the treasure through their greatest qualities. Mara looked at her team. The kings of gold left this for those who think, not those who rush. We have shown that humans possess the power to overcome any obstacle through intelligence and teamwork. That is our true treasure. With the treasure secured, the humans prepared to leave the chamber. They had proven that patience, intelligence, courage, and cooperation could overcome any obstacle. The kings of gold had tested them, and humans had passed every challenge. Their journey through the ancient complex had not only brought them gold but had proven the strength of the human mind and spirit. As they moved toward the exit, Mara glanced back. The chamber glowed brightly, a monument to human achievement and the wisdom of the kings. Humans had claimed the lost gold, but more importantly, they had demonstrated that intelligence and teamwork were the greatest power of all. The humans stepped out of the ancient complex, the golden treasure safely secured. Sunlight poured over the desert as they emerged from the dark corridors, and the wind carried a sense of triumph. Mara, Rina, and Taro stood together, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and pride. The journey had tested them in ways they had never imagined, but they had succeeded. Mara held a small golden artifact in her hand, examining the intricate carvings. "We did it," she said. "The kings of gold left their treasure and wisdom for those who could think, observe, and act wisely. We have proven that humans are capable of greatness." Rena smiled. This journey was not just about finding gold. It was about showing that intelligence, patience, and teamwork are more powerful than brute strength or luck. Humans have passed every challenge because we use our minds and hearts together. Taro looked toward the horizon. Other species may rely on force or speed, but humans succeed through strategy, courage, and cooperation. That is why we survive and thrive in a universe full of challenges. As they walked back toward their ship, they reflected on the dangers they had faced. The desert had tested their endurance, the ancient traps had tested their awareness, and the guardians had tested their patience and strategy. Yet, humans had overcome every obstacle. Their greatest strength had always been their ability to think, learn, and adapt. The journey back to the ship was quiet at first, each human lost in thought. The treasure was valuable, but the lessons they had learned were priceless. The kings of gold had left challenges not to stop explorers, but to reward those who could rise above fear and act with intelligence. When they finally reached their ship, they prepared for departure. Rena carefully stored the artifacts, ensuring nothing was damaged. Taro secured the gold, double-checking every containment unit. Mara reviewed the maps and notes they had collected. The knowledge here can change our understanding of history, technology, and strategy. We must protect it and use it wisely. As the ship lifted off, the humans looked back at the desert. The ancient complex glowed faintly in the sunlight, a monument to human achievement and the wisdom of the kings of gold. Their journey had proven that humans could face impossible odds and emerge victorious through intelligence and teamwork. During the flight back to their home planet, the team discussed their discoveries. Rena analyzed the devices and artifacts, explaining how the ancient technology worked. Taro studied the maps, identifying new regions that could hold more secrets of the kings of gold. Mara recorded everything, ensuring that future explorers could benefit from their experience. "This is only the beginning," Mara said. "The kings of gold left challenges across the galaxy. We have found one treasure, but there may be more waiting for humans who are patient, clever, and brave. Our journey continues." Rena nodded. "Humans have proven that no obstacle is too great when we work together. We learn, we adapt, and we succeed. That is the true treasure of this journey." Taro smiled. "The universe will test us again, but we have shown that humans have the greatest power, the ability to think, to solve problems, and to act as one. That is why we are strong, why we survive, and why we will thrive." As the ship entered orbit, they sent a report back to their home planet. The transmission detailed their discoveries, the challenges they faced, and the lessons they had learned. The leaders and scientists of their world received the message with amazement. The treasure was important, but the story of human ingenuity and courage inspired everyone. Mara addressed the council. "The kings of gold designed their trials to test intelligence and cooperation. Humans have passed these tests not because of luck or strength, but because we think, observe, and act together. Our success shows that we can overcome any challenge if we use our minds and hearts." The council nodded in agreement. "Your journey proves that humans are capable of greatness. Your courage, intelligence, and teamwork have not only claimed the treasure but also set an example for all future explorers." As the team returned to their city, the artifacts and gold were placed in a secure chamber for study. Scientists and historians began to examine the devices, learning from the ancient knowledge. The treasure of the kings of gold was more than wealth, it was a source of learning, innovation, and inspiration. Mara, Rena, and Taro continued to explore the lessons they had learned. They shared their experiences with others, teaching patience, observation, teamwork, and courage. Young humans studied the maps and notes, dreaming of future adventures. The story of their journey became a symbol of what humans could achieve. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Mara looked out from a high balcony. "We have discovered something more valuable than gold," she said softly. "We have discovered the power of the human mind, the strength of cooperation, and the courage to face the unknown. That is the true legacy of our journey." Rena joined her. "The kings of gold left us challenges to test our intelligence and determination. We succeeded because humans are clever, patient, and brave. That is why we survive and why we will continue to thrive in the universe." Taro stood beside them, smiling. "We have proven that humans can face any challenge, solve any puzzle, and overcome any obstacle. The treasure was only a reward. The real achievement is the demonstration of human strength, intelligence, and heart." The city around them glowed in the evening light, full of life and energy. The story of the lost gold spread across the world, inspiring generations to explore, to learn, and to dream. Humans had proven themselves worthy of the wisdom of the kings of gold. And in the hearts of Mara, Rena, and Taro, a sense of fulfillment and pride remained. They had faced impossible odds, solved the greatest puzzles, and claimed the treasure through courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Their journey had shown that humans were capable of greatness in any universe, against any challenge. The lost gold of the ancient kings was no longer lost. It had been claimed by humans, not only because they were brave but because they were clever, patient, and united. Their journey became a legend, a story of triumph, and a lesson for all who would follow. Mara turned to her team one last time. "This is our victory, but also our responsibility. We must use what we have learned to continue exploring, to continue learning, and to continue proving that humans can achieve anything. Our journey is far from over." Rena and Taro nodded, ready for the next adventure. The universe was full of mysteries, and humans were ready to face them all. With intelligence, courage, and teamwork, no challenge was impossible, and no treasure unreachable. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the city. The lost gold of the ancient kings had found its rightful claim, and humans had proven once again that their greatest strength was the mind and the heart.